This happened to me late last summer, and I still haven't figured out what it was or why it chose me. I live in a quiet neighborhood that backs up against a stretch of woods, not a huge forest, just enough trees to block out the nearby road and make everything feel a little more isolated than it really is. There's a narrow dirt path that cuts through the trees and eventually leads to an old service road that nobody really uses anymore. It's become my usual running route because it's peaceful and mostly empty. One evening, I went out for a run a little later than usual. The sun had already started dipping below the trees, casting everything in that dim, grayish light where shapes don't look quite right. I remember feeling slightly uneasy, but I brushed it off. I'd run that path dozens of times before. About halfway through, I started hearing footsteps behind me. At first, I thought it was just the echo of my own steps. The path is covered in dry leaves and they crunch loudly with every stride. But then I slowed down and the footsteps didn't stop. They slowed with me. I stopped completely. The footsteps stopped too. I turned around, expecting to see another runner or maybe someone walking their dog, but the path behind me was empty. Just trees, shadows, and that long stretch of dirt disappearing into the distance. I stood there for a few seconds, listening. Nothing. I told myself I was being paranoid and kept going, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The air felt heavier, like the woods had gone quiet in a way that didn't feel natural. A few minutes later, I heard it again. This time, I didn't stop. I just kept running, pretending I didn't notice, but the sound got closer. Not fast, not like someone sprinting, just steady, matching my pace perfectly. Then, out of nowhere, I heard a voice. Wait. It was quiet, almost swallowed by the trees, but I heard it clearly. I froze. Slowly, I turned around again. Still nothing. But the feeling, it was different now. Before, it was just unease. Now it felt like I was being watched, not from behind, but from everywhere at once. I didn't say anything. I just turned back around and started jogging again, a little faster this time. That's when I saw something ahead of me on the path. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light, a darker patch among the shadows. But as I got closer, it became clear that it was a person standing in the middle of the trail. They weren't moving. They were just standing there. I slowed down, my heart pounding, trying to make out any details. It looked like a man, tall and thin, wearing dark clothing. His head was slightly tilted, like he was studying me. "Hey," I called out, my voice sounding weaker than I expected. "You okay?" No response. I took a few cautious steps forward. That's when he moved. Not toward me, just a small shift, like he adjusted his stance. But something about the movement felt wrong. Too smooth, too deliberate. And then I noticed his face, or at least where his face should have been. It was too dark to see clearly, but there was something off about it. No features I could make out, just a blank, shadowed surface where his face should be. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to leave. I turned around and started running back the way I came. The moment I did, I heard the footsteps again, right behind me, closer than before. I didn't look back. I just ran as fast as I could, branches snapping and leaves crunching under my feet. The path felt longer than it ever had, like it was stretching out, refusing to let me reach the end. The footsteps stayed with me the entire time, not gaining, not falling behind, just there. When I finally broke out of the trees and into my neighborhood, the sound stopped instantly. I didn't slow down until I was inside my house with the door locked behind me. I stood there for a while, trying to catch my breath, telling myself it was over. But that wasn't the end of it. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every little noise had me on edge. Around 2 a.m., I heard something outside my window. A soft tapping. At first, I thought it was just a branch hitting the glass, but the rhythm was too consistent, too intentional. Tap, tap, tap. I slowly got out of bed and walked toward the window, my heart racing. The curtains were already slightly open, just enough for me to peek through. I wish I hadn't. Standing in my backyard, just beyond the reach of the porch light, was the same figure from the trail, perfectly still, facing my window. I couldn't see its face, but I knew it was looking at me. The tapping came again, this time from the glass itself. I flinched and stumbled back, nearly falling over. When I looked again, it was closer. I don't remember deciding to close the curtains. I just remember my hands shaking as I pulled them shut and backed away. The tapping stopped. I stayed awake until morning, too afraid to even look outside again. The next day, I convinced myself it had to be my imagination, stress, exhaustion, anything but what I thought I saw. But later that evening, I went out into the backyard. I don't know why. Maybe I needed proof that nothing had actually been there. That's when I noticed the ground beneath my window. The grass was flattened, and right in the center of it were footprints. They started at the edge of the yard and ended directly beneath my window. There were no footprints leading away. I haven't gone running in those woods since, but sometimes, late at night, I still hear that tapping. Slow, patient, like it knows I'm still here.